Hi, thank you all for coming today. I hope to make this address at a live venue, but logistics made that impossible, so Facebook will have to do. I also wished I could deliver this in French. I'm taking classes, I promise, but I hope you'll excuse me today. First, I must disclose my immigration status. I'm currently a protected stateless refugee, which is not uncommon here in Montreal. What is uncommon is the nation of my birth, the United States of America. I'm a natural-born U.S. citizen, a New York native, a New England college graduate, a Mayflower descendant, currently living in your city under the protection of the Canadian government and the province of Quebec. Now, pause with that for a moment, because I don't know how many American refugees are in Canada right now, but I can't imagine there are many. I might be the only one. It's an unusual classification due to the Safe Third Country Agreement, an agreement that traditionally spotlights the U.S. as the safest nation for refugees seeking asylum. But given my unique case, I'm exempt under Section 159.5 of the IRPR. The story of how I earned this distinction is long. All the details will be released in time, but today I'll lay out the simple timeline. This Mother's Day, I crossed the border on an Amtrak train from Penn Station in New York and requested protection under international law from Canadian Border Services in Blackpool, Quebec. For months before that day, I endured extreme political, spiritual, and psychological persecution. Abuses including, but not limited to, unlawful surveillance, psychological coercion, human trafficking, sexual assault, including a rape broadcast on Zoom, repeated denial of legal services and due process, ideological censorship, staggering intellectual property theft, but most damaging of all, the most damaging of all was the coordinated and unprecedented erasure campaign aimed at silencing my voice, defaming my reputation, and erasing my identity. I'd like to pause again here because some of you may be unfamiliar with what an erasure campaign looks like in action. It's when a group of people who know everything about you, your name, your social security number, where you live, who your kids are, where they go to school. They know everything about you, but they pretend you don't exist. But it doesn't stop there. No, it gets much worse. They also go around to every other person that will listen and tell lies about you. They slander your name, defame your identity, strategically gaslight you to convince every person they can that you're crazy and they should erase you too. Erase your identity. Erase your existence. Some of you may have experienced or witnessed similar abuse like this in your lifetime. In my case, the harms were orchestrated by multiple U.S. federal, state, and local agencies, and the Vatican in Rome. The evidence is available today to all credentialed press by request and will also be available soon to the general public. And I'll leave it to each person individually to make up their own mind about who is ultimately to blame. The more important question today is why? Why was I targeted? The real answer is complex. About 2 years ago, I had a profound spiritual awakening. Those of you who have had one know what I mean. It's a life-changing experience. In my case, it changed my life in a very dramatic way. Through a brutal series of trials, an initiation too miraculous to be fiction, I discovered I am a living saint. I need another second because, honestly, that's probably the hardest truth to acknowledge and the toughest revelation I have to disclose to you today. Because I promise you, I did not voluntarily pursue a second career as a postmodern biblical protagonist. But I suppose it's why I feel so at home here in Montreal. Now, before you quibble about technicalities, I must remind everyone that, contrary to popular belief, the saints of these streets were all alive first before they were dead. And as Gertrude Stein so eloquently put it, a rose is a rose is a rose. The Vatican may identify saints, but it does not create them. Only God can do that. And in my case, they identified me and tried to destroy me. The record shows I wasn't that happy about it either. So why all the drama? Aren't saints wonderful people? The truth is, I'm not a normal saint. I'm definitely not a priest. I'm an artist. I'm also unapologetically gay and have a history of drug use. That alone was enough to set the Vatican on fire, which I did on November 25th, 2023, when I gave, and I'm not kidding, the most unfiltered confession in Vatican history at St. Peter's Basilica in Rome. What followed was a scandalous series of events they have been desperately fighting to cover up ever since, events that may go down as one of their final scandals, on top of a long history of corruption and cover-ups, including most recently, child molestation. So why talk now? Why not in 2023? Honestly, because I was scared. I am still scared. I'm shaking even now. Victims of violence of any kind know how hard it is to find the courage to speak when nobody wants to hear you, when your truth is inconvenient, when it makes people uncomfortable. Well, imagine what it's like when the abuser is the Vatican and the U.S. government. That's what happened to me. Following my confession, the Vatican waged an unrelenting holy war on me, recruiting bipartisan support in all levels of U.S. government. Both parties are to blame, Democrats and Republicans. But the worst abuse occurred on President Donald Trump's watch, who the whole world knows is a convicted sex offender. Me, a totally innocent, non-violent, non-criminal, baptized Christian. Their fiercest weapon was silence, the preferred weapon of sex offenders. But with evidence stacked and witnesses now finally prepared to come forward, I had two options. Wait for them to break the silence, or break it myself. I chose to speak. My first obligation is to tell every LGBTQ plus boy and girl, and every gender in between, that God loves you. I am living proof. You glorify him with your beauty. And anyone who has a problem with you has a problem with me and with him. The second is to every victim of rape, sexual harassment, and child abuse who has been silenced or otherwise dismissed by a cruel and indifferent world. I see you, and he sees you, and the day of judgment has come for those who harmed you. Beyond this, my mission includes many important things that cannot wait another day, another hour, another minute, like ending war, including the war on drugs, ending poverty and homelessness, eradicating disease, including STIs, eradicating suffering and shame, and transforming the church into an institution that actually promotes peace, love, and healing. And finally, and very importantly, let me stress that anyone who attempts to distort or discredit my truth, or sell you a different story about who I am and what I stand for, is lying. They are lying. They are the champions of suffering and pain, war and shame, ego and ignorance, and they have finally lost. I am the proof. Je me souviens, and I hold all the receipts. So thank you again for joining me on this historic day. I must also thank Canada, Quebec, and the city of Montreal for being so supportive during such a dark chapter of my life. I will never forget you. God bless.